November 7 Echo Charlie, are you guys GPS equipped?
Negative, Flight Alpha.
Okay. November 7 Echo Charlie, are you getting any icing or anything?
ASAM, we're getting a little bit of clear icing and some lime on the windshield, so actually.
Yeah, I need you to maintain 6,000. You're descending below. Low altitude alert, November 7 Echo Charlie. Minimum vectoring in your altitude in your area is 6,000. Climb up to 6,000 if you're able. If you're unable, turn right, heading 270, and that'll be radar vectors to lower altitude.
That's a portion of the ATC audio from one of 7 aviation saves we'll be talking about today, in which a controller, or groups of controllers, work together to help save pilots in tough situations. All of these occurred in the past year with FAA controllers. Hello again, and welcome back to Aviation News Talk, a weekly show with relevant news and flying tips for pilots and student pilots to help keep you safe when you fly. I'm Max Truscott. By the way, if you've thought about maybe someday buying a Cirrus SR20, SR22, or SF50 Vision jet, or you'd like flight training in one, there are just a whole lot of things I can do to help you. I talk with several listeners every week about these kinds of things. Just pick up the phone, call me for a free consultation and possibly a free demo flight at 650-967-2500. Last week in episode 121, we talked about getting a multi-engine rating. So if you missed that episode, you may want to check it out. And now here's our show. Last week, NATCA, the National Air Traffic Controller Association, held their annual Communicating for Safety conference, bringing together air traffic controllers and other aviation safety professionals, pilots, FAA officials, members of the U.S. and international aviation and air traffic control communities, and other special guests to discuss a wide range of safety and technology topics to make the U.S. national airspace system even safer. On Thursday evening, they held a banquet at which they presented the annual Archie League Medal of Safety Awards to controllers involved in saving pilots who found themselves in tough situations. Typically, there's an award given in each region, and there's a President's Award for the best save of the year. Interestingly, all but 2 of these awards involve general aviation aircraft. I've sorted through all of the awards, and due to time constraints, I'll be highlighting just the 7 awards I thought you'd find most interesting. And if you want to learn more about the other awards that I won't be covering, I'll include a link in the show notes so you can learn more about these other saves as well. I'd like to thank NATCA for giving us permission to use all the audio clips you'll hear. Now, the first save we'll talk about is the only one involving commercial airliners, and it's the save that earned the top award, the NATCA's President's Award. In it, 2 aircraft departed from parallel runways at Chicago's O'Hare Airport, and due to a simple error made by one of the pilots, came dangerously close to each other. And that error, which you'll hear about, is one that I often see general aviation pilots make as well. The aircraft involved were Envoy 3603, which took off on the right, but started turning to the left toward American 272, which had just taken off on the left. Here's NATCA's President Paul Rinaldi describing what happened.
It was on March 1st of 2019 at 1817 Zulu at a little airport, Sleepy Hollow, known as Chicago O'Hare. CPC Ryan Sheely was working 3rd local control. He was departing runway 10 left at intersection Delta Delta. Ryan was also working the arrivals that landed runway 10 right and 10 center. He was working them back across the runway he was departing to the terminal area. Needless to say, he was a little busy. Ryan issued a departure clearance to Envoy 3603, initial heading of 100, and a takeoff clearance. This heading paralleled the departure runways and the arrival runways, so there would be no conflict. The pilot of Envoy 3603 read back the correct heading and began takeoff roll. Once airborne, for some unknown reason, Envoy 3603 began a hard left turn, placing that aircraft in a collision course with American 272 departing runway 9 right. Ryan quickly recognized the potential for a collision, instructed Envoy to stop his climb immediately. Subsequently, he issued an immediate turn to a right heading of 140. Concurrently, working on the other side of the airport was CPC Andrew Rice, who was working the departure of American 272 on runway 9 right, also observed the impending collision, issued the American 272 an immediate left turn to 070, seeing that wasn't enough, continued a immediate left turn heading 360 to pull these airplanes apart. Play the video.
Envoy 3603 now, fly heading 100, runway 10 left and Delta Delta, clear for takeoff, remain this frequency.
100, 10 left, clear for takeoff, Delta Delta on 3603.
Yeah, 272, fly the runway heading, remain the frequency, running 9 right, clear for takeoff.
Alright, 9 right, American 272, clear for takeoff, runway heading.
And to save time, I've removed 48 seconds of silence as these two aircraft take off and start to climb.
And American 272, turn left heading 070.
Left turn 070, American 270.
American 1119, correction, Envoy 4181, fly the runway heading, remain this frequency, runway 10 left from Delta Delta, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 10 left, Delta Delta, runway heading, Envoy 4181.
Envoy 3603, stop your climb. Envoy 3603, turn right immediately, heading 140.
Right here, 140, Envoy 3603.
American 272, continue left, heading 360.
360, American 270.
And American 272, you can turn back to the right now, heading 070. Thank you.
At 70 degrees, we did get a TCAS up again on our right.
Yeah, he's correcting now. Envoy 3603, maintain 5,000.
Take it for Envoy 3603.
Maintain 5,000, Envoy 3603.
5,000, Envoy 3603.
During the investigation of the incident, the pilot of Envoy stated that while he was issued a 100 heading, he actually dialed in a 010 heading. The FAA measured the closest proximity at 0.23 nautical miles and 100 feet. And that is only because these two controllers acted so quickly to pull these airplanes apart. Their actions on that day saved hundreds of lives. And they're going to come up here and tell you I was just doing my job. So please welcome 2019 Archie League President Award winner from Chicago O'Hare, Ryan Sheely and Andrew Rice.
Now, that's an easy error to make. The controller instructed Envoy 3603 to fly heading of 100 or nearly due east, but the pilot dialed in 010, almost due north. Now, surprisingly, the other pilot in the Envoy cockpit didn't catch the error, but this is an easy error to make, so always, always, always listen carefully when instructed to fly either a 010 or a 100 heading to make sure that you heard it correctly and dialed it in correctly. Next up is a pilot who was flying high at a pressurized Cessna 340, but who became hypoxic when he failed to notice that the pressurization system failed. The controller, who was also a pilot, picked up on the problem and saved this pilot. Listen carefully to how the pilot's voice changes at the beginning and the end of his exchanges with ATC. Note, too, how the pilot who was flying in the flight levels asked for a local altimeter setting, which was also a red flag, as all pilots should know that in the U.S., anytime you're above flight level 180, the altimeter should be set to 29.92. Also, the pilot was having trouble staying on his heading. Here's NATCA Central Region Vice President Aaron Merrick talking about the save.
On August 14, 2018, Andy Crabtree was working in the controller in charge position at Kansas City Center in the Flint Hills area. At approximately 1700 Zulu, the controller working Sector 62 noticed a possible problem with an aircraft under his control. Cessna 2744 Yankee was traveling at flight level 230, deviating around a line of thunderstorms, trying to get to South Greenwood Airport in Indianapolis, Indiana. The controller working Sector 62 issued multiple control instructions to the Cessna in order for him to avoid the thunderstorms. When it was clear that November 2744 Yankee was not following the control instructions, the controller asked the CIC, in this case Andy, for help. Andy quickly grabbed a handset and started listening to the aircraft in question. Based on the sluggishness of the pilot's responses, he thought the pilot could be experiencing hypoxia. Hypoxia, for those that don't know, is the lack of sufficient oxygen in the blood, tissues, or cells to maintain normal physiological condition. The air at higher altitudes is very thin and lacks the oxygen needed for the human body to function without supplemental oxygen. Andy, at this point, sprang into action to help the controller with what to do next. November 2744 Yankee was told to put on his oxygen mask, was instructed to descend to 10,000 feet. And as the pilot regained composure and control of the aircraft, he was able to avoid the thunderstorms and land safely at his destination. Notice the confusion and sluggishness in the pilot's voice and how it improves as he begins receiving supplemental oxygen and descending to a lower altitude. Let's play the video.
USA Center, Cessna 2744 Yankee is at flight level 230.
November 2744 Yankee, Kansas City Center, some moderate to extreme precipitation, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock and 50 miles. That extends 40 miles along your route of flight. It looks from your present location, if you want to go about 15 degrees left, of course, that will keep you north of some extreme precipitation. I'm showing out in front.
Okay, deviate 15 degrees left for 2744 Yankee. Thank you.
November 44 Yankee, when able, advise a direct destination.
Hello, advise one direct for 2744 Yankee. Can we have that local altimeter setting again?
November 44 Yankee, I'm sorry, were you asking for the altimeter setting at the flight level, sir?
That's correct, Roger, 2744 Yankee. It's 2995, sorry. Is that guard complex at 080?
Use 2992 for an altimeter setting in the flight level, sir.
2992, sorry.
November 44 Yankee, suggest a heading of 055.
Left to 055 for 2744 Yankee. Thank you.
November 44 Yankee, a heading of 055 should be a right turn for you, sir.
055, right turn, 2744 Yankee.
November 2744 Yankee, what's your current heading?
Current heading, 2744 Yankee is 016, 2744 Yankee.
November 44 Yankee, roger. Again, for weather avoidance, turn right heading now 080. November 44 Yankee, you have some concerns that you might be experiencing hypoxia. Is everything all right in your cabin?
Affirmative for 2744 Yankee.
November 44 Yankee, just to verify, if you're not already, can you put some oxygen on for a few minutes?
Over to oxygen mask, 2744 Yankee.
November 44 Yankee, I need you to descend and maintain 16,000, the Wichita altimeter 2991.
Okay, descend to 16,000 for 2744 Yankee.
November 44 Yankee, descend and maintain 16,000.
Okay, descend to 16,000 for 2744 Yankee.
November 44 Whiskey, I do see that you're in a descent now. Descend and maintain 10,000.
Okay, that was for 2744 Yankee. 10,000 descend, 2744 Yankee.
November 44 Yankee, affirmative. And continue on your present heading for weather avoidance.
Okay, on the present heading for 2744 Yankee, now to 10,000.
November 44 Yankee, radio check.
I can hear loud and clear, and supplemental oxygen for 2744 Yankee.
November 44 Yankee, roger, understand you're on supplemental oxygen now?
Affirmative for 2744 Yankee.
Andy's experience as an aviator, as well as his quick thinking while working the CIC position, spearheaded what was a team effort to save this pilot's life. The pilot later called Kansas City Center to express his gratitude and said without the help of the controllers and Andy looking out for him, the outcome may have been much different. Please help me welcome to the stage the Central Region Medal of Safety Award winner for 2019, Mr. Andy Crabtree.
Now, in accepting the award, Andy Crabtree commented that his wife was an emergency room nurse and that she wasn't particularly impressed that he'd only saved one life. So, good sense of humor on both their parts there. Next up, a save involving a student pilot in Michigan. Notice how the controller went above and beyond what you'd normally expect from a controller and was virtually giving flight instruction to the pilot based on his own experience as a pilot. And this is where you can see how lucky we are to have some controllers who are also trained as pilots. Here's NATCA Great Lakes Region Vice President Drew McQueen introducing this save. Now, in it, he refers to a D-side only controller, and apparently in centers they often have two controllers out of scope. the R side controller who's talking to the airplanes, and the D side controller, or the data side, who manages things like the IFR strips, keeping them in order and also being an extra set of eyes on the scope.
All right, the sector was staffed with a partially certified radar controller, Shane Bolds, and a D-side only controller, Justin Dawkin. They helped Cessna 90181 Papa with a solo pilot remain calm by keeping her focused on ensuring the aircraft was stable while talking her through a difficult landing in very strong wind conditions. Please play the video.
I think that's 8191 or 9181 Papa. I'm getting a lot of wind and I can't contact Grand Rapids. Would I be able to divert and go back to Traverse City, please?
You want to go back to Traverse City, number 81 Papa?
That's affirmative.
Okay, number 9181 Papa. I'll show that as your destination. I'll talk to Grand Rapids about it.
Thank you so much. Minneapolis, 9181 Papa. Can I please go to Big Rapids?
Yeah, number 9181 Papa. I'll show that in the system there. Big Rapids is at your 1 o'clock and 5 miles. Let me know when you see it.
I got it in sight, and there's some crazy turbulence. I can report it when I'm on the ground, but I'm going to focus on getting the aircraft on the ground.
Okay, are you having trouble controlling the aircraft right now?
I can keep it in control. It's hard to maintain altitude, and I just got a big updraft where I hit my head on the top of the cockpit. So I'm going to put it on the ground and then contact my people in Traverse City.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Just focus on flying the airplane for now.
Where are the winds coming from? What's the direction?
The wind there at Big Rapids is 31012, gusts 23. Can you see the airport?
That's a negative.
Okay, you don't see the airport?
Correct, I do not see the airport. I can actually see the airport. I will go to Big Rapids, please.
Okay, number 9181 Papa, that at the airport again. It's about 100 heading from where you are right now. Nice deep breath. Let's focus on what we know how to do, all right? So we're just going to fly the airplane. Make sure you know your speeds, right? You know what speed you're going to fly on final there?
I need to be on an 70 knot mile.
Yep, that's right. And you know, when we're flying in heavy wind, we also don't use as much flaps as we do in normal. So make a decision on how much flaps you want to use there. I normally use about 20 degrees when I'm flying the 172.
Okay, I'm gonna just do a downwind for runway 27 because right now I have a 9-knot tailwind, and then I'm going to turn my plane around so I can have a headwind.
Alright, Papa, that's a good idea. Runway 27 is going to be a better runway than runway 9 there because the wind is from 310. Number 81 Papa, radar contact is lost. Say your altitude.
1,200, 81 Papa.
Roger. Number 671 Echo Alpha, change to my frequency 120.85, please, and have your relay for me.
20.85, 1 Echo Alpha.
Number 81 Papa, I'm going to have another aircraft listen up on this frequency for you. Would you let us know when you're on the ground, please? Let me know if you have any questions as well, okay?
Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem. You're doing all right. Just focus on flying the airplane, okay? I don't see any other traffic nearby. I want you to stay with me instead of going to CTAF, okay?
Okay, stay with you, and I'm going to turn left base for runway 27.
All right, sounds good.
I want to go out for the
I want to go off. I'm going to have you listen up on this frequency for a Skyhawk. It's 81 Papa. She's landing there at the Big Rapids Airport. Student solo, fighting the wind a little bit right now.
Okay, very good. I'm going to see if I can help. Let me know.
All right. All right, number 81 Papa. Focus on your crosswind landing technique. That the wind should be coming from the right side of the airplane there. So as you get a little closer to the ground, you want to use right down into the wind with left rudder to make sure you stay straight.
Okay, 81 Pop, this is 1 Echo Alpha. You say you're on the ground, safe and sound? Okay, Mini 671 Echo Alpha, 81 Pop, on the ground, safe and sound.
At the time, SkyWest 7410 was also flying through the sector and had taken note of the situation. The captain tracked down the Minneapolis Center FAC rep, Tony Walsh, through Facebook and called him the next day to advise him that he'd heard the situation unfold and thought the controller did a fantastic job. He also sent a letter to the facility. I would like to share a portion of that now. On April the 9th, we were halfway through briefing our approach into Chippewa Falls International Airport when we heard the controller begin to give assistance to what seemed to be a low-time student pilot. We couldn't hear her, however, it was clear she was having trouble. The controller did an amazing job at calming her down, walking her through what seemed to be an approach with strong gusty winds, low ceilings, as well as giving her multiple options for alternate airports. How he helped her keep the aircraft under control was spot on by suggesting flap settings, speed for the aircraft, and other great pointers. From what I know, she eventually landed safely somewhere. A big kudos to that controller for keeping his cool and helping out the pilot. When I first saw this, when I got this for the Archie League, this hit close to me at home. I'm a Beaver graduate, CTI student, so I also have my pilot's license. This same exact thing happened to me 25 years ago. It was an August day, it was hot, it was windy, it was bumpy. It was so bumpy, as a matter of fact, the window popped open and sucked up my sectional chart right out of the window. And I distinctly remember a warm feeling down here somewhere and wet. And that is no lie. So when I got on the ground, my instructor came over to the plane and said, "Hey, we got to get you scheduled for your next lesson." And I was like, "No, I'm good, I'm good." So when I told my father that night that I'm not going to be an air traffic controller because I can't complete the flying portion of the program, eventually I got back into it and finished. But the job that Justin and Shane did was absolutely amazing. But instead of me telling you what a great job they did, let's hear from the person who was actually there that day. Help me welcome to the stage the pilot of November 90181 Papa, Rachel Prinz.
Wow, okay, there are a lot of people here. Well, thank you, Drew, for the introduction, and thank you for NATCA for the invitation to be here tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rachel Prinz, and I'm the pilot in that transmission. Whew. That was the first time I heard that, so it's a little intense right now. I don't know if you could tell, but that situation caused me a lot of distress. But I can truly say that that was a situation where everything went exactly right. I was scared, but I had Justin and Shane, two incredible air traffic controllers, reassuring me that I was going to be okay and that we were in it together. You kept me focused on flying the plane and getting it on the ground safe. Distracted me from my fear. Thank you. Distracted me from my fear by asking me to walk you through my decision making. I'm not sure I can put into words how much I appreciate that. I learned a lot that day, but my main takeaway was that without our air traffic controllers, our skies would not be as safe or run as efficiently as they do. And I'm so honored to not only meet you in person, but be a part of presenting you with this award. Thank you for everything that all of you guys do, and congratulations.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Justin, the D side, was not able to be here tonight because he didn't want to miss his stage 4 radar class. So good for him. So please join. So accepting the award for Justin will be Minneapolis Center FAC Rep Tony Walsh. So join me in welcoming our Great Lakes Archie winners, Shane Bowles and Tony Walsh for Justin Doken.
Well, I wasn't nervous before, but now I am. I had no idea that was happening, so that's new for me. That's also my first time listening to that, so who else hates their controller voice? Anybody else? I don't sound like that, do I? On this day was the first and hopefully last time I was thankful that I squeezed my wide frame into a small 172 hundreds upon hundreds of times when I became a pilot. Hopefully I never have to do that ever again. I want to take a moment to thank a couple of people that were key. I want to talk about some of the people that made that happen. So for this event, I want to thank Justin. He couldn't be here with us today because he's on his way to becoming one as well. And Jim Huda, our soup that day, I put both of them to work. You can't hear it here, obviously, but I was making Justin call every weather facility for every airport nearby, and Jim was calling every airport, figuring out where we're going with this airplane.
So I want to include some of those thank yous just so I get a feel for what some of the people behind the scenes were doing. He, of course, went on to thank a number of other people who were involved. Now here's a save that involved a Cessna 172 in Southern California that needed to climb to 11,000 feet to reach the minimum en route altitude, but was picking up ice along the way. Not only are 172s not equipped for icing, this one didn't have a GPS on board, and it was having problems with other instruments as the aircraft iced up. Notice the controller tells the aircraft that he's going to box him for his climb, which means he's going to issue headings to fly the aircraft in a rectangle as he climbs. And then he gives him no gyro vectors. Now that's where an aircraft turns at a standard rate, which is 3 degrees per second, and the controller gives headings by telling the aircraft when to start and when to stop that turn at a standard rate. Here's NATCA Western Pacific Region Vice President Joel Ortiz talking about this save.
Sisters and brothers, it is an honor and a privilege to present this year's Western Pacific Region Archie League Award winner. November 737 Echo Charlie, a Cessna 172 departed Chino Airport en route to Apple Valley Airport in the Los Angeles area basin. IMC conditions, a freezing level of 4,000 feet, moderate turbulence, and a moderate rime icing were reported throughout the basin that day. Mike Temez, a Marine Corps veteran, is a controller with 16 years of experience and a private pilot himself. Mike was working the Hemet sector at the Southern California TRACON. That's right. Mike issued November 737 Echo Charlie climb to the minimum en route altitude of 11,000 feet. Observing that the aircraft was unable to climb, he issued a heading to avoid higher terrain. After confirming that the Cessna was experiencing icing conditions, Mike descended November 737 Echo Charlie to 6,000 feet in an attempt to prevent further icing. Due to the weather conditions, November 737 Echo Charlie changed his destination to Riverside Airport, about 27 miles to the northwest. After several attempts to get the Cessna on course, Mike determined that he would have to issue no gyro vectors. For those of you who may not be familiar with no gyro vectors, a no gyro vector is when ATC provides navigational guidance by instructing the pilot to turn left or right and then to stop turn. This ensures that the pilot maintains a consistent heading or a constant rate of turn. Utilizing no gyro vectors, Mike was able to direct the Cessna towards lower terrain, where the increase in outside air temperature was essential in melting the ice off the critical aircraft components. Soon after, the aircraft's instruments returned to normal operation, including the directional gyro and airspeed indicator. November 737 Echo Charlie was able to land safely at Riverside Airport. Please play the video.
Echo Charlie, very simple.
7 Echo Charlie, you filed via Victor 64. I'm going to have to climb you at 11,000 here in a minute. There's reports of icing throughout the LA basin, and on Victor 64 to the east, there's I can see light to moderate precipitation, so you're probably going to encounter icing over there. Number 7 Echo Charlie, I'm going to box you for your climb. I need to get you at 11,000. You're flighting 180.
180, 7 Echo Charlie.
Number 7 Echo Charlie, I gave you a 270 heading. It looks like you're heading 320.
We are 270 on the magnetic and on the gyro for 7 Echo Charlie.
All right, check your compass. You're still showing about a 310, 300 heading now.
And off the magnetic, we're at 270 on the line, 7 Echo Charlie.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm telling you that I observed something different, so it's incorrect. If you want to change your destination and go back to the west, just advise there's icing going to the east as well, and there's mountainous terrain over just off your nose and to the east.
Let's go ahead and divert to Palomar, for 7 Echo Charlie.
Number 7 Echo Charlie, roger. Just continue your present heading for right now. I'll give you your IFR clearance here in a moment. November 7 Echo Charlie, are you guys GPS equipped?
Negative, Alpha.
Okay. Number 7 Echo Charlie, are you getting any icing or anything?
8 Sam, we're getting a little bit of clear icing and some lime on the windshield for 7 Echo Charlie.
Yeah, I need you to maintain 6,000. You're descending below. Low altitude alert, November 7 Echo Charlie. Minimum vectoring in your altitude in your area is 6,000. Climb up to 6,000 if you're able. If you're unable, turn right, heading 270, and that'll be radar vectors to lower altitude. November 7 Echo Charlie, just so we're on the same page, you're going to try for Riverside.
8 Sam, 7 Echo Charlie.
November 7 Echo Charlie, I'm just going to do this. The remainder of these vectors will be no gyro.
Yeah, it works for us, 7 Echo Charlie.
November 7 Echo Charlie, turn left.
Left, 7 Echo Charlie.
November 7 Echo Charlie, stop turn. November 7 Echo Charlie, stop turn. November 737 Echo Charlie, stop turn, over.
Turn and stop, 7 Echo Charlie.
November 7 Echo Charlie, this heading's going to take you straight right over March Air Reserve Base, and then from there, I'll give you a no gyro heading that'll put you direct to the Riverside Airport.
Roger, thank you, 7 Echo Charlie, and looks like the ice is melting off, so thank you very much, I really appreciate it, 7 Echo Charlie.
Absolutely no problem, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, 7 Echo Charlie, we also, PO2 is completely blocked right now, it's going back alive for 7 Echo Charlie.
Number 7 Echo Charlie, thank you. November 7 Echo Charlie, this vector has you direct to Paradise.
Roger, 7 Echo Charlie, and we have full airspeed at this time, 7 Echo Charlie.
Thank you. November 7 Echo Charlie, you're IMC, correct?
8 7 Echo Charlie.
November 7 Echo Charlie, turn left.
A cloud's coming up and looks about a mile.
November 7 Echo Charlie, I cut you off. Turn left.
Turn left, 7 Echo Charlie. Stop turn, 7 Echo Charlie.
And what did you say about the cloud, sir?
We're just on the bottom of it. Another, if we spend 200 feet, we'll be completely audible, and we can actually go VFR from there to 7 Echo Charlie.
Number 7 Echo Charlie, you'll be right out of the clouds in about 2 miles. I'll be able to get you down.
Roger, 7 Echo Charlie. And there's at our airport 12 o'clock and looks about 10, 15 miles.
It's at your 12 o'clock and 6 miles.
It's tight for 7 Echo Charlie.
Number 7 Echo Charlie, you're cleared for the visual approach. Runway 27 at Riverside.
Cleared visual 27 and Riverside, 7 Echo Charlie.
You can call Riverside Tower now on 121.0. We'll see you later.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon for 7 Echo Charlie.
Number 7 Echo Charlie, again, it's my pleasure. That's what I'm here for. Take care.
I love how calm and matter-of-fact this controller was. In fact, that could be said for all the controllers we're talking about here today. Now here's a save that involves an F-16 pilot who, for various reasons, was running desperately low on fuel and diverting to Syracuse, New York in poor weather. When he was handed off to this controller, the controller was told that the aircraft was 15 minutes away from Syracuse and that he had 15 minutes of fuel on board. Here's NATCA New England Region Vice President Mick Devine talking about this save.
All right, this next one is unlike any event I've ever seen before. The controllers thought outside the box to provide an emergency save to the U.S. Air National Guard when their options looked bleak. With critical fuel levels, an F-16 based out of Burlington, Vermont, was holding, waiting for the poor weather to improve, and had nowhere to land. He was instructed to climb and divert to Syracuse when Jeff Walbach and Mike Jacobson took the handoff from Neil Cospito. They had been working a fuel tanker in their airspace and came up with a clever solution to literally rendezvous the F-16 with the tanker. Play the first video.
Center Venom, if you could please pass on to Syracuse minimum vectors and clear the way for me. I don't want to get stuck behind anybody.
And Venom 01, as it stands right now, we've got you direct to the field. Expect no vectors or delay. Next sector knows that your minimum fuel. And you can contact Boston Center now, tree 77.1.
Thank you. I'll say 77, Venom Field. Center, Venom 01.280.
Venom 01, Boston Center, roger.
Center, Bison 21 place.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. We just like to pre-coordinate our block altitude at AR609, flight level 250, flight level 280.
Bison 2-1, Roger, have that on request. And you're looking for a booger and what other flight?
Crazy.
Roger. Venom 1, I know you're going to Syracuse in minimum fuel. I do have a tanker, an AR609, waiting for some F-16s that are also out of Burlington. I don't know if we could arrange that, if you can, or if you want, be interested in getting a little refuel prior to going to Syracuse.
Yes.
Bison 2-1, Boston.
Go for Bison 2-1 flight.
I have a single F-16, 40 miles to your east, minimum fuel at flight level 280. He is bingo fuel right now, going to Syracuse, diverting from Burlington. Would you be willing to refuel, give him a little fuel?
Affirmative for Bison 2-1 flight.
Venom 1, the UHF primary for the refueling, 276.5.
Copy 2765. Please turn them to me immediately.
Bison 2-1 flight heading 150.
East 150 for Bison 2-1 flight.
Venom 1, the tanker Bison 2-1 flight at 2 is turning to a 150 degree heading. You'll be able to intercept them in about 4 minutes.
Venom, thanks.
Venom 1, the Bison flight's turning to a 150 heading, southeasterly heading, and it's declared MARSA. And just letting you know when you have radar on them.
Venom, radar contact.
Venom 1, Roger. Bison 2-1, Venom 1, cleared to conduct aerial refueling along AR609, maintain refueling altitudes, flight level 250, flight level 280.
Venom,
clear to conduct AR at 619, flight level, block altitude of 2528 with Venom 01.
Bison 2-1, you can maneuver as necessary to affect the intercept and the refueling.
Bison 2-1, affirmative, thank you.
Venom 1, change tanker frequencies approved.
Yes, sir, I know you've been busy. It's Envoy 3668. We had to level off 230.
Envoy 3668, Roger. Climb and maintain flight level 340.
Yeah. Climb 340, Envoy 3668. Nice job with those guys.
Center. Venom 01, tankers in sight.
Venom 01, Roger. Change tanker frequency approved, and just give me a call when you are done and what you'd like to do.
Copy that. I am up both frequencies right now. Just stay up this frequency.
Venom 1, understand.
Boston Center, Bison 2-1 flight dash 2 request.
Bison 2-1, get.
Bison 2-1 dash 2 is going to return, and Bison 2-1 is going to remain in 609 until Venom 01 makes his approach to Syracuse.
Bison 2-1, Roger, understand. Bison 2-2 be RTB to Niagara. That is correct, at flight level 270.
Confirm for Bison 2-2.
Venom 1, say altitude.
Venom 01, Captain 24.5 to 24.
Roger, Bison 2-1, Venom 1, Bison 2-2, MARSA is terminated between all three.
Bison 2-1. Bison 2-2.
Venom 1, fly your present heading now, vectors for the ILS to Syracuse. Descend and maintain 1,000, 11,000. Just fly heading 225.
Copy heading 225, 1,000. Thanks for the help today, and that was a nice job with getting that tanker involved.
Venom 1, no problem, my pleasure. Bison 2-1, go ahead.
Hey, Bison 2-1, we're going to hang out in AR609 on the track at flight level 260 while Venom makes his approach in. Once we get the AOK, we will request our clearance back to Niagara. If that's all right with you.
Bison 2-1, approved.
Water, Tom, this is Syracuse on 36.
Venom 1, contact Syracuse approach on 127.42.
2742, good day, and again, thanks for the help.
No problem. Bison 2-2, contact Cleveland Center 127.47.
127.47, Bison 2-2, thanks for helping us, sir.
Thank you. Bison 2-1, the Venom flight has landed at Syracuse.
That's good news for Bison 2-1.
So both pilots sent videos to show their appreciation for this save. So if we could play those videos too, please.
Lieutenant Colonel Nate Smith. I'm the Director of Operations, the 134th Fighter Squadron, Vermont Air National Guard. Tuesday before Thanksgiving last year, we had a jet that needed to be picked up from Toledo, Ohio. So I hopped over there, brought the jet back from Toledo to Vermont. The weather that day was supposed to be okay forecast, landable conditions, but definitely not visual conditions. I knew I was going to have to shoot an approach into here, but not anything of concern as far as low weather. About 100 miles out on the way home, I started picking up the ATIS, the weather information for home, and then I also called ops here and asked them how conditions were compared to with what was being reported. And it's what was forecast. And then as I was getting vectored for an approach, about 15 to 20 miles east of here over the mountains is when I started to listen to more ATIS, and they just added an update essentially saying that the weather was now below my minimums. I had enough gas to hold, so I did that. I held for about 15 to 20 minutes while I was in contact with operations here to try to figure out a plan for if the weather was going to come up or if I was going to have to divert. So we worked, considered even shooting an approach in opposite direction, having them switch runways. And while we decided that was probably the best course of action, my fuel state was at a point where I could probably pull it off, but I was going to be in a bind if I ended up shooting that approach and then not breaking out. So on vectors for that approach, on about a downwind, I ended up making the decision that I don't have any options right now. The weather was right at minimums. It was legal for me to do it, but it wasn't smart operationally. So I took the jet and diverted to Syracuse, New York. And in the climb out, I noticed that the winds were significantly higher than what our divert fuel planning assumptions were. So I knew very quickly that I was going to end up landing in Syracuse, most likely on emergency fuel. And every other alternate around, all the weather had dropped unforecast, so it was not a good day. When I was talking to Boston Center, who we talk to when we leave our airspace here, Boston Center started seamlessly vectoring me straight to Syracuse, cleared all the traffic out of the way, and then between them and the tanker crew, they really saved the day. They said, "Hey, we've got a tanker about 80 miles off your nose. Do you want to receive gas?" And I was like, "Yeah." I had no idea there was a tanker out there. Yep, well, I ended up getting gas from the tanker, and we ended up basically being above Syracuse, directly above, on the tanker with plenty of gas, and I landed, no problem. Like I said, it was one of those days where the weather just in the Northeast changed like it does and nobody forecast it. And we just happened to have a tanker up there, and the Boston Center crew saved the day with essentially thinking outside the box what they would normally do and go, "Hey, do you want to get some gas from this guy? I can start coordinating that now." That's pretty impressive. That's definitely not standard, I would say, protocol. And thinking outside the box and crew resource management in terms of between me in the air, ops on the ground, the tanker crew, and Boston Center, initiated all by Boston Center, was top notch that day. It was great thinking. And I'm happy it worked out. Folks, I'm glad it worked out the way it did. It could not have happened without you. And the expertise, the professionalism that you displayed that day in thinking outside the box and finding a tanker for me when I didn't know it existed. I was able to refuel and land safely in Syracuse, not in a fuel critical state. I'm very pleased to hear that you're receiving an award. And again, job well done for doing what you did to think outside the box. I look forward to working with you again when we start flying our brand new F-35s here in Vermont. And I can't wait to talk to you all again. Thank you.
Oh, it's never fun to be short of gas in any type of aircraft. Now, you heard the controller refer to MARSA a couple of times. In the U.S., MARSA stands for Military Authority Assumes Responsibility for Separation of Aircraft. And it's used whenever military aircraft are flying so closely together, such as for refueling, that civilian air traffic control like the FAA can't keep the aircraft separate using normal procedures, and so the military temporarily assumes responsibility for separation of the aircraft. Now, in this next save of a Mooney in New York State, and like many other emergencies I've heard, the pilot never told the controller just how severe his loss of equipment was. Here's NATCA Eastern Region Vice President Rich Santa talking about this save.
On a cold and cloudy winter day in White Plains, New York, a Mooney departed White Plains Airport to conduct practice IFR approaches when it experienced flight control problems. Brian Rabinowitz, a controller from the New York TRACON, He noticed the pilot wasn't adhering to control instructions. The Mooney stated that he lost his autopilot and GPS, and due to the pilot's tone of voice, Brian declared an emergency for him. After clearing the other aircraft out of the way for the Mooney, and after many control instructions, Brian was able to get the Mooney to visual flight conditions. That Mooney pilot was able to see White Plains Airport and land safely. Brian later found out, and we all found out, the real severity of that incident. That Mooney had a total electrical failure and was using only a compass for navigation. Please play the video.
2 Kilo Romeo, New York departure, radar contact. Climb and maintain 2,000, say altitude.
1500, we need to re-land for 2 Kilo Romeo. I don't want to go above into IFR.
Are you declaring an emergency?
Yes, 2 Kilo Romeo.
2 Echo Alpha, cancel approach clearance, turn right heading 270, climb to 3,000.
270 up to 3,000, 312 Echo Alpha.
Kilo Romeo, turn left heading 310.
310, 2 Kilo Romeo.
JetBlue 1494 heading 360, slow to 180.
JetBlue 1494, we're going to need the full ILS.
JetBlue 1494, 360 heading, slow to 180. Delay vectors for an emergency.
360 and north, JetBlue 1494.
November 142 Kilo Romeo, do you have ground contact? Can you see the ground?
Yes, ground contact with Kilo Romeo.
Do you see the airport?
Do not see the airport. I'm turning to 310.
Make it a 360 heading. I want to set you up for a nice left base.
Sorry, you're asking for a 360 for 2 Kilo Romeo?
2 Kilo Romeo, fly a 360 heading. I'm going to set you up for a nice left base into 16.
360 heading, 2 Kilo Romeo.
Let me know if I'm putting you into some clouds, because obviously I can't see them. So let me know what kind of heading you might need.
2 Kilo Romeo is in the clouds, yes.
You're currently in IMC conditions?
Affirmative for 2 Kilo Romeo.
Just tell me what kind of issues you're having. I know the tower said you had something with the autopilot. What other issues are you having?
Issue with the autopilot, yes, for 2 Kilo Romeo, as well as GPS.
Okay, so just fly that 360 heading and maintain an altitude. Let's hold it at, you're at 1,800 feet now, so just hold it there on a 360 heading.
I'm holding it, 2 Kilo Romeo.
2 Echo Alpha, turn right 360.
Right, turn 360, 2 Echo Alpha.
November 2 Kilo Romeo, where is it clear? Is it clear off your left? Is it clear off your right?
Mostly clear to the left, 2 Kilo Romeo.
Turn left heading 280.
To 280, 2 Kilo Romeo.
For 1494 heading 280.
I understand. 280, JetBlue 1494?
Be back correct.
JetBlue 1494.
Number 142 Kilo Romeo, let me know if you pick up the airport.
We'll let you know, 2 Kilo Romeo.
Kilo Romeo, Westchester Airport is 10 o'clock and about 3 miles. You see it out there?
2 Kilo Romeo is looking.
All right, I want to set you up for an ILS so I can, you think you're going to be able to track a localizer inbound?
I don't believe so. I just need to be set up for a final on 16 if we can, please.
November 2 Kilo Romeo, start descending down a slow, shallow descent and turn left heading 190. Make it about 300 feet a minute.
300 feet a minute, and I'm sorry, what is the heading?
Turn left heading 160. Number 2 Kilo Romeo, turn left heading 160.
After 160, 2 Kilo Romeo.
2 Echo Alpha heading 090.
090 for 2 Echo Alpha.
Number 2 Kilo Romeo, continue that airplane down, start slowing it up a little bit.
Slowing and continuing down for 2 Kilo Romeo.
2 Kilo Romeo, make it a 120 heading.
20, 2 Kilo Romeo.
2 Echo Alpha, 130 heading, I want you to intercept the localizer. 2 Echo Alpha, 130 heading, intercept the localizer.
130, intercept the localizer, 2 Echo Alpha.
Kilo Romeo, the airport is like 2 miles ahead now, 12 o'clock.
I have the airport, 2 Kilo Romeo.
2 Kilo Romeo, you're cleared to land on runway 16.
For 16, 2 Kilo Romeo, thank you.
2 Kilo Romeo, when you are ready, you can go over to the tower on 118.57.
The tower, 2 Kilo Romeo.
2 Echo Alpha, maintain 2,000 till established. You're cleared for the ILS, runway 16 approach.
Now, in this last save, a Cessna 182 was getting bad altimeter readings while flying in Massachusetts. Notice that the controller declared an emergency for the pilot, something that's happened in a number of these Archie League awards last week. This year they had 2 awards in New England, so once again, here's NATCA New England Region Vice President Mick Devine talking about this save.
So our first Archie League winner, 2019, was working normal traffic at Providence Approach on a cloudy New England day last summer. IFR conditions persisted throughout the region. When the pilot of a Cessna 182 carrying 2 passengers failed 3 attempts at a nearby New Bedford airport, Chris Corcoran stepped in. he discovered the pilot was struggling with unreliable readings, including his altimeter. This was due to an air leak in the plane. Let's watch the video.
I'm going to declare an emergency for you. How many souls on board and fuel remaining in time?
There's 3 of us on board, and we have 3 hours of fuel.
505, roger. I'll have a turn on to final for you here shortly.
I appreciate it, thank you.
You can has an air leak. I'm declaring an emergency for him, so he's just going to get an emergency now.
All right, very good.
November 505, are you indicating 3,000 in the aircraft?
No, 2,200.
I'm showing 2,200 on the scope now.
I'll just hold it here then, I guess.
Yep, just hold that altitude and report established. November 505, what are you indicating in the aircraft?
1,500.
505, roger, I'm indicating 1,300. You are starting to go off course a little bit. Just continue direct to the field. November 505, you're indicating 1,000 feet now, low altitude alert.
I'm off the end of the gauge here.
Roger, the MBA in your area is 1,900. November 505, would you like to try and get into Providence? I can get you much lower. November 505, low altitude alert, indicating 900 MBA, 1,900, climb and maintain 2,000.
Flying in 2,000 and heading 320.
November 505, roger, you're cleared to Providence via heading with 320, just maintain 2,000. November 505, the last aircraft that landed in Providence was Airbus, indicating a base of 1,200.
Okay, we'll give that a try.
Would you like to have me try to work you in on the localizer, or would you like me to just get you close to the field and give you a descent?
Yeah, if you can work me in, that'd be great.
And November 505, and just so I'm very sure that you want to try and work the ILS 23 into Providence?
Yeah, that'll be fine. I don't have a plate though, so you're going to have to walk me in.
Roger, I'll give you all the decision heights and all the altitudes you need and the localizer frequency.
Great, I appreciate it.
And November 505, you are indicating 2,500 now, just stay altitude.
We're actually reading 2,300.
November 505, roger, climb and maintain, just maintain your current altitude, just stay at 2,300.
Maintaining current altitude, 20505.
505, and what's your current altitude? I'm indicating 1,800 now.
I've got 2,000.
505, roger, just at least maintain 2,100 or above, please. November 505, did you copy?
Copy, climbing back to 2,100.
Roger, the MBA on the ILS is going to be 2,100, and then once you get closer to the final approach fix, we'll have a descent for you.
Copy, 20505.
November 505, turn left in 320.
320, 20505.
November 505, what I'm actually going to do for you is I'm going to have you go towards the field. Once you get towards the final, I'm going to put you direct to the field. I'm going to keep you on to the localizer as best I can, and then I'm going to start a descent for you via the approach flight.
Great, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for your help.
You're welcome. BA 2,100, there's an antenna about 3 miles north of you.
Okay, I will keep an eye out.
November 205, turn left heading 227.
227, 20505.
That should put you right on final. Once you're established on that heading, let me know and I'll have a descent for you.
I'll let you know when I hit 227. Established.
November 505, descend and maintain 1,900.
Descend is 1,900 on my altimeter.
November 505, what are you indicating in your aircraft now?
2,150.
November 505, roger, go down 500 feet. Descend 500 feet. November 505, you should be coming up with the bases shortly. The Providence Airport is at your 1 o'clock and 6 miles.
Still in heavy cloud at the moment.
November 505, say altitude.
1,800.
November 505, continued descent about 300 more feet.
How's Providence is like?
November 505, cleared for the visual approach, runway 23.
Cleared for the visual 23. Thanks very much for your help.
November 505, you are cleared to land on runway 23.
Cleared to land on runway 23. 20505. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. November 20505, you can contact Providence Tower on 120.7.
120.7. Thank you.
One of the comments I heard multiple times during the awards banquet is that every day is a training day. And I think that's something that pilots should consider too. Instead of just flying along in cruise, watching the clouds go by, which is fun, go ahead and spend some time on each flight reviewing different emergency procedures for your aircraft. And as you may recall in a past episode, the controller talked about how controllers periodically go through recurrent training and practice handling emergencies. And as one of these controllers said, he had been working 15 years without an emergency, but when one came along, his training kicked in and he handled it well. And by the way, when they accepted their awards, many of the controllers said that they were just doing their jobs and that other controllers would have done exactly the same thing if they had been in the same position. I'd like to extend my personal thanks to all controllers who are listening. I interact with you 5 or 6 days a week, and I continue to be in awe of the professionalism that you bring to the job. So thanks so much for everything you do. Now, if you want to read about the other Archie Awards presented last week or review the video of the entire banquet, you'll find links to them in our show notes. And if you're loving this show, may I suggest that you support the show by donating a few dollars a month? I've talked to a couple of listeners recently who said, and I'm planning to support the show. If you've been thinking that, well, yeah, please go ahead and do it today. And if you have a PayPal account, you can make a one-time or monthly donation by going to aviationnewstalk.com/PayPal. Or if you don't have a PayPal account, please support us on Patreon by going to aviationnewstalk.com/awesome. Because you're all awesome listeners. And I want to thank you for taking the time to support the show in any way that you do, whether that's by sending us a donation, sending feedback or listener questions in by email, or by telling your friends about the show. And if your friends don't know how to find a podcast, well, I'm sure they know how to download an app. So just send them to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to download our dedicated Aviation News Talk podcast app for iOS or for Android. In the App Store, just search for Aviation News Talk. And of course, the apps are free. So until next time, fly safely, have fun, and keep the blue side up.